we've kind of noticed a trend. I don't know about you guys, but it feels like a lot of sequelitis going around these days. A lot of remakes and kind of just cashing in on established intellectual properties. I mean, in the last 2 weeks, I've reviewed a collection of Sonic games from the mid '90s on Genesis, and a throwback to classic Ninja Turtles. Say that 3 times fast with a stutter.
I will not.
No.
No, that is my hell to live in. Just want to kind of discuss, when does it become just a cash grab instead of just creating new content? We kind of talked about this recently, actually, when it came to crossovers and such like that. Mm-hmm. But how many of these things are just on life support for the quick buck of name recognition, and how many of these things do we feel are being used for in a valid way these days
for the greater good? Actually, the reason I had brought this up earlier was because I realized that I'm kind of subject to it. I'm the first person to jump on a franchise that I don't like, or not don't like, but are not a part of. I don't want anybody stabbing me later. Like Final Fantasy. I don't Final Fantasy, but there's 907 of those. We talked, yes. We talked a while ago about Silent Hill, and there's so many Silent Hill games, and you guys were saying that half of them don't count.
Just half of them aren't good, that's all.
Yeah, you're like, no, those ones aren't real. But for me, and Chris, you have similar taste in a lot of video games that I do. We've got Mass Effects, we've got the Dragon Age, we've got Fable, we've got Elder Scrolls. Those are all franchises that I'm like, just please, more. I'm waiting. So where's the difference, right? The thing that I was originally thinking about that was just getting to be too much was Diablo, which is a huge game. And they just announced 4, I believe, right? Am I getting the number correct? Mm-hmm. But we literally just got Diablo Immortals S. Is there an S? So to me, I'm like, it's taking too long, or like it's not taking long enough, I guess. And that's how I feel with the Call of Duty games. There's one every year. Like, just spend some time with your game, people. Like, you did not 100% that nonsense.
I do understand that completely. Yes.
Yeah. So
great.
Diablo's
I will never hunt. Sorry, Chris.
I was just gonna throw this one to you actually there for Diablo, Brendan, because you're the big Diablo fan on the panel here. Immortal is kind of what I would call a cash grab, right? Like literally it's been a cash grab, but it's not quite like it's not developed 100% like a cash grab, team, right?
I think it's a decent game that suffers from cash grab-itis, I guess would be the way to say it.
Cash grab-itis.
Yeah.
Sequelitis.
Honestly, I think there's a lot to like about Diablo Immortal, and I think even though it isn't really pushing the envelope in the gameplay department, where it isn't doing the things that Diablo 4 are looking to do, it is a really solid experience. It does feel like a mix between Diablo 3 and Diablo 2 in many ways. I just feel that the way they've tried to monetize, the way they've tried to kind of work with the end game, makes it really hard to recommend. There's just too much limited behind that paywall. I do think they've done great. I'll give credit where credit is due. They've done a great job making a game that is fun and easy to pick up. They've just hampered that and kind of destroyed that experience because they really want to make sure people spend money. And that alone takes away what could have been a really rewarding experience.
Now, do you think that's going to sour people from Diablo 4 that's coming? Because now there's a bunch of people really mad at Diablo. So is it now becoming okay, that's enough Diablo, make it go away?
I think if people are burned badly by Diablo Immortal, it will hurt Diablo 4 sales. But I don't know by how much, or if the same people that would be playing Diablo Immortal would also be playing Diablo 4. It is a different market. One's designed to be mobile. It is does have a PC version, but it is mobile first.
Yeah, like me, I'm probably more likely to pick up Immortal than I am to go play Diablo 3, 4, 76, whatever.
Diablo 4 will be console, and PC, so you do have a different audience that way, and that could mean they're not going to have as much overlap. That being said, I hope they learn from the reaction that Diablo Immortal has kind of shown and make it so they don't overly monetize it to the point when it's just not fun. I don't care if you put skins. If you want to make cool, weird skins, weird hats, go nuts. But don't take away the core of the experience to do so.
I think that might be why Diablo 2 persevered for so long. It's because it was not locked behind a paywall.
Yeah.
And they made a big departure from that with number 3, with having that live auction house where people could buy and trade items there. Diablo 2 was all through what you found or what you traded with people. So that was probably, for me, why it persevered the longest, because it came out in 2000. Mm-hmm. And with the remaster just dropping last year as well, it still had much of the same appeal to me.
No, and that's part of what we're talking about too, though. There aren't just new versions of the game coming out. You just said the word remaster, remake. Those are all things that are happening so much lately. Mm-hmm. Are we good with that?
Well, I mean, Resident Evil 2 and 3 remastered were actually, those are remakes. A huge update for both of those games. Right. They implemented that over-the-shoulder camera that Resident Evil 4 pioneered so effectively and so perfectly, and really revitalized the series, I think, because after Nemesis number 3 in 1998, I think, or something like that.
99? Yeah, Nemesis was 99.
Was it 99?
Yeah, I had a PS1 by then, so.
Yeah. So after that one, they kind of went off the rails a little bit. They kind of deviated away from that main set of characters that were established in Resident Evil, the title game, and then 2 and 3. They kind of moved away from those and went with a whole other set of characters, barring Code Veronica, obviously, because Claire was still around in that one.
Code Veronica makes me think of like a weird, bad Alias type show.
It was a really good game. Code Veronica X, I still actually have for.
Sounds kind of hot.
It's kind of the weird. I don't want to say weird stepchild, but it's like the weird offshoot of the series.
The redheaded stepchild, is that what it is?
I didn't want to go that far. But.
The location in Code Veronica X is so different from the rest of the series, because I think it's Antarctica based, isn't it, or something like that, or some island.
Okay, so. Back on track, folks. Okay, so take Resident Evil, for instance. We're talking about remakes and sequels, and Brendan, you had mentioned stretching out other series and things like that, too. So now we've got video games that not only stretch over... How many Resident Evil games are there? 107? But now there's how many movies, and another one coming, and a series coming, and the games are being remade again or remastered again.
And a series just came out.
Yeah, that's... Brendan and I were talking about the new series coming too, right?
Yeah, one came out.
And that was my response was, didn't we just do that? like a minute ago?
This is a new thing.
So it becomes overkill, does it not?
I think it varies case to case, right? I mean, I like my Resident Evil slow and clunky, so I've kind of bounced off some of the newer ones. Plus, I tried to play Resident Evil 2 Remake at the start of the pandemic, and that was a bad idea, tonally. That was
a choice.
Fair.
I was like, I'm going to finally play this. I've been meaning to get around to this. Oh, wait, not this one, but viruses. That's a bad call.
Let's just turn this off permanently.
Yeah, exactly.
You watch the movie Contagion at the beginning of the pandemic. My God.
But that would have been just as bad.
Yeah.
So for me, it's they're doing all these things, and it's well, they're good to you because it sounds like they're doing a good job with them, but it's not really up this old fan's alley.
I don't know. Brendan, what was the latest Resident Evil? Raccoon City?
No, movie or what?
Yeah, the movie was Raccoon City.
Yeah, Raccoon City.
Yeah. Let's not say they're doing a good job, folks.
Okay, I was referring to the games. The movies, I totally disconnected from. I watched the very first movie, and I liked it as a zombie movie, but I didn't like it as a Resident Evil story. Mm-hmm. And then from everything I heard about the games or the movies after that, it's just no. I think I'll spare my time and not get into that.
I reviewed Welcome to Raccoon City, and I mean,
you were wrong.
As a fan of the series, I enjoyed it. It wasn't the best movie I've ever seen before.
But I often say you are like the most positive person that I know, though.
I am a fairly
You're like,
positive
I'm
person,
happy.
but I wasn't looking at it through rose-tinted glasses.
No.
Looked at
It was a fun movie.
Yeah, I was entertained.
I had questions.
That's all I wanted out of it, was to be entertained, and I was. So
Yeah.
I gave it an average rating. I think I gave it like 7.75. I think
I was averagely entertained.
I mean,
So like in the case of Resident Evil, then when we're talking like, was this overkill or is this cash grab or is this something valid? Like I think when it comes to the games, they're doing all right, and it seems to be serving the greater good of the IP. But when it comes to shows and movies, the track record is definitely very mixed, because this new one that Netflix is coming out with looks interesting.
It does.
It also looks very different for the series. Like
absolutely, it's
now,
a far cry from
they weren't really clear about like at first it said, "Oh, this is entirely separated," and the trailer started coming out like, well, it kind of works off of the game continuity a little bit, but.
Okay, so it's not a podcast if we don't say we know how my memory works and it's not great. So
you need like a segment bar for that, like
we just Dayna's brain broken. That's all we need.
Animation go.
Yeah.
Technical
So
difficulties.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember like the original Resident Evil movies being a huge deal. Now, I was never a fan of the games or anything, but my friends in high school and middle school and all that were, and they loved them. Were they good for the series at the time? I don't know how they hold up now, but were they good? No. Really? Like even then? Were you old and jaded back then, though, Brendan?
The original movies, the first one was okay. Beyond that, they were bad movies.
I would argue the second one was also decent.
Well, like the first one was also entirely separate too. Like it didn't use any characters from it, and then in two they brought in Nemesis and Jill, right?
Yeah,
or was it the third one?
The second one was Nemesis and Jill. Yeah.
So once you start bringing
Nemesis and
those
Jill
things,
Nemesis
and Jill. Yes, yes, he is a tentacle monster after all.
Yeah. So even back then, the Resident Evil like on-screen properties were.
Yeah, the movies were a far cry from the game series. They had the same name, but more or less, and the same basic idea of the T virus wiping out humanity.
Inside Out dogs.
Inside Out dogs.
Long tongues on monsters.
Yeah, they were successfully peeled.
I was Jill Valentine for Halloween one time.
It's a good costume.
Somebody else dressed me. I didn't know who she was.
Which Jill?
Which Jill costume?
I had a skirt, boots, and a blue tube top.
The Nemesis outfit.
I was like 15. Settle down, folks.
The Nemesis outfit. That was the one, man.
No, it's recognizing, just game recognizing game. That's all.
Yeah, sure. Not with
literally recognizing game. Literally the game that you're cosplaying from. To come back to that point though, like I think the game the movie that doesn't really connect to the game isn't really doing too much harm if it's like just a decent film. But once you bring in those characters, then you're muddled in continuities, and you're like, well, this isn't the character that I know them as, and they didn't go this far into the character.
I find that's kind of the case with almost all video game movies. That there's a lot of expectations from a huge section of the fan base, and if it doesn't go the exact way that they want it to, then there's uproar and
that's the same with books and it coming from any property.
Oh, absolutely.
That's always going to happen. I remember, I think it's a Nicholas Sparks book, Dear John. Channing Tatum and Amanda Seyfried were in it, and I lost my mind because she was not blonde in the book. Like, I could probably have gotten my life together at that point, but it happens.
There's so much that's different between the Harry Potter books and the Harry Potter movies as well.
Yeah, that's a big thing too.
That's one that won't end too. There's something else coming out with Harry Potter, isn't there?
Yeah.
Well, the third Fantastic Beasts movie is out now, but I think they probably won't make the next two that they were planning to make.
Yeah, that last one didn't do well, did it?
No, it did not.
Bombed pretty spectacularly from the looks of it. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of entirely removed from that whole scene as it is, but it did not look good.
The other franchise that I was thinking about when this came up was Sonic, like you mentioned, Chris. We've been playing it forever. I've been playing Sonic since I was a kid, so it has this little bit of nostalgia, but now it's trying to like change the way it does things, and it's trying to move into Sonic Frontiers. We talked about that last week, my thoughts and feelings, and that I don't know who this game is for, or why it exists, or why it's happening, or what it's going to turn out as. And then Sonic also has movies. Chris, you had mentioned that you hadn't seen the second one yet.
Not yet, no.
I haven't seen either of them. But remember how the first Sonic went, right? That started showing previews and the whole world blew up and they literally remade their friggin' movie. So is that gone too far or is it good? I don't know.
So, yeah, I was actually thinking about this when we were talking about Diablo Immortal because it feels like, they're doing things. So it feels like studios are doing like projects like Diablo Immortal to kind of bankroll bigger things like Diablo 4. And it's working because people have been sticking way too much money into that freaking game. There's been 2 big stories of people like, I spent my life savings and didn't even get one thing.
And just to spite them. What?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still upset about that.
For
That's a
YouTube
weird
content.
message. Well, there's also that. But anyways, so it's pulling in money for that. So the Diablo 4's team is probably not too worried about that at that point.
Yep.
Same thing. Flash forward back to Sonic here. You've got Sonic Origins just came out this week, and that's a pretty decent little package. I gave it a 9.5. And so that's gonna sales of that will help finance some things at Sega and Sonic team and maybe help put some things into that Sonic Frontier sandbox that looks awfully empty.
I mean, to be fair, they that game's apparently almost done, so
So
Just like a couple flowers, maybe.
Yeah, maybe some
Just like 2
levels.
2 would be cool. Maybe that.
But it all kind of feeds into each other, right? Now we kind of have this shift in the market where we're supplementing the main development of the series with these other offshoots and different forms. And Sonic's always had a comic since I was a kid. That was one of my first big comic reads was Sonic. I followed that forever. I've still got all my old issues, and that's always been a multimedia tie-in. So they've always kind of had that foot in that door, or that investment in that material. So to reach into the movie universe, isn't so unexpected.
There's another series that I wonder if they've kind of reached the limit of their capability, although they probably haven't. Is the Sniper Elite series?
Okay.
They're on entry number 5 now, and this is the only game that I think the first one might have touched on it, but this is the only one that's fully set in France. In the 5th entry, in one of the biggest theaters of war in that war. The second one was Germany. The third one was, I think, either Africa or Italy. The 4th one was either Africa or Italy, whichever the 3rd one wasn't. And then now we're in the 5th one, which is finally in France.
We made it. We did it. We got there, guys.
You play in American. It takes place in the first couple weeks leading up to D-Day, and then after D-Day, you don't even see D-Day. What a waste!
I think that's too soon, man. Too soon. I don't want to experience D-Day. No dice,
dude.
Guy.
It was 76 years ago.
Yeah, tell that to a veteran, okay?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's why, though. Maybe they just they're like, this one instance actually happened. These other ones we can kind of create.
I mean, surely Medal of Honor or Call of Duty at some point has done D-Day too, right? I'm assuming.
Medal of Honor had to have done D-Day.
Yeah, Medal of Honor,
They definitely did, because one of the games started with D-Day.
Did it? Okay, yeah, I haven't touched it since the first 2 games on PS1. So.
All right.
I seem to recall there being a Valve shooter called Dave Defeat that took
was
place on D-Day.
Well, those people just aren't as classy.
Right. Where are the games about Canadian soldiers liberating the Netherlands? That's what I want to see.
I know, right? That's what I want to see.
Nobody's making games about Canadians, Chris.
Or Dutchmen, so I'm just totally out of luck here.
You are, that's true. Okay, so that being said, are there any franchises that you think, movie or game or series, whatever, that you think are doing it well? That just won't die in a good way?
Gran Turismo.
I mean, I think other people would argue with that.
I would too,
I
because
would
like to me,
absolutely.
I'm like, yep, that's a car and that's
What
a
about-
track.
What about Forza? Like, if you're talking like racing games, I think Forza definitely is one of those series that everyone seems to think it's better every new entry in the series.
Well, Forza has two different properties to it, doesn't it? It's
They have
Forza
Horizon
Motorsport
and
and
they
Forza
have-
Horizon. Yeah.
And Motorsport.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Motorsport was the original one on, I think, the original Xbox.
I
as
thought they
well.
were just different names for the same. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I'm really good at my
Motorsport's
job.
more simulator based, I think, and
Yeah.
Horizon's more
Horizon's more of
arcadey.
like the weird bombastic one.
Yeah.
that's the trailer for Motorsport at the Xbox showing at Games Fest. I was like, that's just Gran Turismo 7. That's all that is.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can be improved with Gran Turismo 7, obviously. There's a lot of people who are very unhappy with the fact that we still can't sell vehicles in that game, and that was something that was promised before
You can just buy
release.
them?
You can only buy them at the minute. So if you get like
And who were you buying
when
them
you drive a
from?
specific amount of kilometers in the game, they give you a
Can we all just stop and point out that David
Stop it.
says kilometers?
I wasn't going to say anything.
Kilometers.
You can say clicks.
Kilometers.
Hectares.
Continue. I thought he was British for like the first 6 months I knew him. Continue.
are you sure?
How do you say aluminum?
There are words. I'm going to point them all out now whenever I hear them. Chris, I'm going to let you know because you get me. Continue.
Aluminium.
Aluminium, yes.
Apricots.
But yeah, the after you drive a certain amount of kilometers every game, you get a daily reward ticket, and you can either get a car or money or parts for a car. But if you get a car, then you get duplicates. There's nothing to do with them. You can't sell them. You can't do anything with them. So selling cars was one of the biggest things that was supposed to be in that game. People are still crying out for it now.
There you go.
So that can
Okay.
always be
Speaking of
improved.
crying out.
Yeah, David's going to take a break.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
That's a hungry cat.
Yeah. Chris, are there any that you like I said, you play a lot of the similar ones that I do, though you'll probably pick some of the ones on the outside, but are there any that you think are doing good things?
I would I'd be tempted to say Sonic actually is not
Really?
doing that bad of a job if Sonic Frontiers looked better.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a big if.
Sonic Origins honestly is one of the best remasters I've played in a long time. I think like sort of there with the Mass Effect Legendary Edition for me, it's just it's a lot of subtle things and it makes it accessible to modern platforms without digging out old consoles, and it fixes some of the old problems, and it doesn't take away from the experience at all. Like so like in that regard, and like the movie's doing well, it's probably some of the most successful, but it is probably the most successful video game movie franchise now. Like it's pretty much 2 for 2. Kind of it was the first one to kind of break that curse, really. So I would say Sonic if it wasn't for Sonic Frontiers looking so questionable. But
Questionable. Brendan, do you have any thoughts or opinions? Do you like anything ever? Hate
I like
anything
lots of
ever?
things. I just can't think of any series that's really kind of getting better.
Pressure.
I can't think of anything right now.
Well, for me, like I'm secretly hoping that Fable's going to be wonderful. We know
I
this.
mean, we all do that.
Elder
Falling so
Scrolls.
far off the tracks though.
Shh, it's fine.
Sorry.
Elder Scrolls again. That's a big hope for me. They've kind of held out with Elder Scrolls Online, and that's constantly being updated. And if you check out Madeline's review, she seems to really like the new one, which I get to try on Xbox. I have a code for it. I need to do that. So I'm hoping that that'll keep tiding me over. Yeah, that makes sense. But for me, actually, Brendan, I think it was one of the ones that you said you think are running out their welcome, Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Yes, that's like a very successful book franchise, and then it was the show that it was, even though it maybe didn't get love at the end there. And then they have a series coming out in August.
Right.
But just now, the newest like Jon Snow rendition is coming, or not coming. It's coming eventually.
Speaking of Ella, anyways.
Yeah. And to me, I think that's the best idea they could have had in terms of like doing well, because this new Game of Thrones that's coming, I don't really care about because I don't know anybody. I fell in love with I didn't read the books, to be clear. I fell in love with the people I fell in love with, and whether it's Jon Snow or Kit Harington, I'm not sure. But him having his own series, it brings you oh god, I'm bad with names. We know this. The redhead guy, he could be there, and
Torment.
all the I wasn't going to get that. And you could have any series of the other characters, that aren't super dead or maybe dead, come back, and that's exciting for me. That makes me happy. But it hasn't been. This isn't the 75th version of it, so.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm kind of the opposite actually with the Game of Thrones news. Like, I'm more interested in House of the Dragon than I am in the Jon Snow thing. But that being said, it's only because I don't know where they're gonna go with that.
Yeah.
And I'm also frankly surprised that Kit Harington is like, yeah, sign me up for this, for more of this.
He hasn't really done much since, though, right?
Well,
Like,
isn't that too much? No, like he's got a role in Eternals, which will spin him off into like the Blade movie.
Mm-hmm.
But that
Really?
Blade movie?
Yeah.
Oh.
The MCU's doing Blade, and he's going to be in that. So there's a post-credit scene in Eternals for those who haven't sat through that 2.5 hour slog.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that one. I kind of wish I had that hour back, that time back. But anyways, there's a post-credit scene that kind of suggests hints strongly / nudges that he'll be in Blade when the MCU goes there.
No, why not?
As the Black Knight. So
Did I even know that he was in Eternals?
him and Rob Stark.
Yeah, like I knew the other one. I didn't know he was.
Selma Hayek's in it, Angela Jolie.
I knew all of them. That's why I'm super confused. Like,
I don't think Kit Harington is. It's the other brother. The other.
No, he's saying it's both of them.
Kit Harington is in it. Yeah.
Okay, I need to look this up.
Yeah, we don't believe
He's
you.
got a small part.
Hey guys, Brendan met Kit Harington. Just every time we bring him up, he tells me that story. So I thought I'd tell it for him.
Did he know things?
He knew nothing.
Yeah,
but anyways, House of the Dragon. I read a little bit of the book that George R. R. Martin wrote instead of the 6th Game of Thrones book, detailing all the history and stuff. And there's a lot of interesting stuff there. That's like the high level fantasy concept that made George popular in the first place. Mm-hmm. So I think that will be interesting. And it's got a pretty decent, you got Matt Smith as like the lead in it. So that's the start there too.
I'm sure that I'll watch it and I'll fall in love with it, but it's not like, I keep forgetting that it's coming. I just saw that it was, I think it's like August 17th or something like that. I just saw it the other day.
This week, yeah.
And I was like, oh, I thought that was like years away still. Like I didn't know it was coming. So that's cool. So that's exciting.
Years away is book 6.
I mean, those books are never coming out ever.
That's never. I think he's given up entirely. That's a different story.
He's just too busy being famous and old.
It's just like, I'm feeling that he just didn't really know what else to do with the books after the shows did their own thing. So he's just gonna leave it like this, and we'll never know what he.
Yeah, because like he either writes what the show did or something completely different, and people are like, bleh.
Well, and at this point too, honestly, the books are so far off of the shows too. Like, there's so much else going on. There's like 2 separate series worth of stuff going on in the books that's not in the series.
Yeah.
So it's already impossible for him to just write exactly what they did because he's got all these other plates in the air. So
Walking Dead did that too. Sorry, just while
Walking Dead lost me.
Fear the Walking Dead. Then there were a bunch of other like little side. Sorry, I just wanted to add that on.
I was kind of down for that at first. Like I watched Fear the Walking Dead for the first 2 seasons, I think, but once they made certain departures from the comics in the main show, vis-a-vis 2 main characters.
Apparently, Fear the Walking Dead ended up getting really good again.
Really?
I can buy that.
Actually, my mom and my ex-husband, they watch it, and both of them are like, "Yeah, it got weird for a while, and then it got really good." And I'm like, "Okay." And now we're messing around with AMC Plus, so I may actually give it a shot again. I haven't finished The Walking Dead that's out so far. Whatever chunk of this season came out, I don't actually know what's happened.
So yeah,
one more chunk coming, I think.
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. It got weird through COVID there, but. Yeah, just like I was down for it. I was defending the show through that last season that I watched, which I think was season 9.
Okay.
406.
I forget. It's also blurry now. But once Rick and Carl were off the show, it's just like I went from being like I enjoyed that to being just I completely fell off the cliff.
Did you
myself to watch anything?
Did you read the comics at all?
I had been kind of keeping up to the comics around where the show was. I wasn't reading too far ahead. But I had read past that part pretty much all through Alexandria, and there was so much other stuff that I wish they had done.
Yeah, like that was the only comic series I've ever really read. And for me it was in the show Rick's with Michonne, but in the comics he's with Andrea. In the show I wanted to cause Andrea physical pain. In the show I would like to cause Michonne physical pain. So there's that. Yeah. Oh, hey, David. Oh, you're muted though. David's back, guys.
I am back.
There we go.
But yeah, so I don't know. See, that goes back to people being mad about things. Dun dun.
Wonder why.
I guess.
Yeah, it's just it kind of got too big for its britches, right? Like the main show needed more attention,
Yeah.
and it's just that's actually a good example of it going way off the rails because the comic, from what I understand too, went to like a weird place towards the end there too.
The comic got weird. Definitely did.
Well, weirder, I guess, because it was pretty weird to begin with.
Weirder.
That's valid.
Yeah, it was all weird. Miss Castro is thankful that David is back, in case anyone wasn't wondering. He is apparently the heart and the soul of Pixels
Of
Inc.
this.
tonight. Of this. Just this. Whatever this is. Life, computer screen, Pixels
Yeah.
Inc.
This tiny rectangle that is my face.
Yes.
Is the heart and soul.
Anywho.
Well, I think, at the end of the day, I think it just kind of boils down to a case by case thing, right? Like, there's no
They're
clear
not
cut
all
way.
bad.
Just do right by your franchises.
Should there be like a vote before they make any new stuff? Like
Right.
like a Kickstarter.
No.
This many people have to approve what you're doing before you're allowed to continue.
Well, to go back to the Sonic
that's
movie thing too, it's like, okay, what the people did to the studio, that's bad. That's reprehensible. Some of the stuff that people were saying and doing to the staffers that are just trying to make a thing. But also, that never should have been released that way. Like they should have known better than to make him look like that and release.
Yeah,
it to
like
the public.
do people not have eyes? I realize that sounds really rude, but if you look at Sonic and that,
At 1.0, yeah.
that's
You know
what I
what?
mean. Yo,
It's not all that dissimilar from gender bending characters or race bending characters.
it is.
Is it?
Well, I mean, people get mad about it. That's the same as like changing someone's hair
all I'm
color in
saying.
a book, saying
That's all I'm
whatever.
saying.
But he's talking about the way that like they released how Sonic looked.
Yeah.
It was just poorly done. It wasn't just that it was different. It was bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't a matter of like we want him to look like this version of Sonic. It was we don't want him to look stupid.
Yeah.
It's like,
You know?
here is the recipe. Make this, and like they come back with something else entirely. Like it's just I gave you the ingredients for this, and you came back with something else entirely. Where did you even get this from?
Just thought I'd play devil's advocate for a moment.
I mean,
No,
that's
you're
fair.
good. Domino. They race changed her for the movie, and she was fabulous.
On Deadpool 2.
I was confused because she was supposed to be like as pasty as can be, but she was awesome. I loved her. She was my favorite part of the movie. So, stuff happens. But Sonic looks stupid, and that's all I
It did
got.
look stupid, yeah. You're absolutely right.
Deadpool actually, there's an example of them taking care in respect to the source material, right? Like Ryan Reynolds
Well,
was
the
very
second
careful
time
about
around,
that.
anyway.
Well, yeah.
The merc with the mouth had his mouth shut in the first one. That's kind of a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, that was.
It just shows point A and point B, right? Like it was they did right by it and
They did. They
eviscerated
fixed
themselves
it.
for it, rightfully so.
They got there.
They got there someday.
Take a little care with your franchises.